Woohoo! We did it, Heather. We did it, folks. Our last Libra episode. How we feeling? How we feeling?
Feel like
There's a lot.
life, yeah,
Feeling a lot.
life is trying to balance me, and I'm like, whoa there,
Whoa there, life.
pulling the
Hey.
rug out from under me. Like,
A little bit. A
I
little
don't know.
topsy-turvy. No,
Yeah.
yeah. I hear that, Heather. And folks, again, welcome back for our listeners. We're in Libra season. You got Heather Cunningham here. I'm back on the ADHD meds, so I'm getting to the intro nice and early, baby. I think the past three I've forgotten, but trying to be better about it, folks. We got Heather Cunningham here, the one and only, the astrology genius herself. Truly a blessing, a light in the dark. God bless her.
Oh.
And it's me, Miranda Linsky, your go-to buddy for the questions, for unlayering this shit layer by layer with Heather. And when I say layers, it's like an infinity amount. Can we agree?
Mm-hmm.
And with that, Libra has got some layers.
Yeah.
she's got some undertones, doesn't she, Heather? My goodness. This air season.
I know.
Flipping us about, tossing us around like some leaves, like some dead fallen leaves. It's a beautiful time.
Yeah.
The excitement. A little bit of some funness, a little bit of wee before we just dive into Scorpio.
Oh boy. Yeah. And I think today, well, like some astrologers are saying it's today and some astrologers are saying it's tomorrow, which makes me think it's like late tonight that Mars enters Scorpio. And that's like our first foray into Scorpio before we actually enter Scorpio season with the sun in Scorpio on the 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this eclipse on Saturday in Libra, not Scorpio, but I think just because it's a new moon with an eclipse, it's very emotional, heightened emotions, which also is feeling like we're on the precipice of the water energy. But
at the peak of Libra too. The way these, like, again, I feel like I sound like a broken book at this point, but I keep remembering every season that we're the new moon in that sign, like you just said, Heather. So like we're exiting out of Libra, but we're going to have a new moon in Libra as we enter into Scorpio. These signs are getting their last like pops off, right? It just feels like they're getting their last big peak in before every sign almost just feels like, hold on. I've got a big old season finale before I pass the reins. And I feel like we're really hitting, even though we've been in Libra, it's like we're really feeling peak Libra energy with the new moon, and that keeps happening with this moon cycle this year. It's really it's fascinating. It's
totally
the energy shift.
Yeah. And this eclipse is interesting. I've been like doing a lot of research on eclipses because it's not something I paid attention to a lot throughout learning astrology. I mean, it's only recently that I've really been paying attention to the transits. But yeah, I'm understanding that the eclipses are always in connection with the nodes, which I've been talking about, like how the nodes of fate, you know, there's the north node in your chart and it's connected to like what you are meant to go toward in this lifetime and maybe what is uncomfortable based on your past lifetimes, but it's like a very karmic point in your chart. And I feel like the North Node is gaining popularity in astrology, but it's not a planet. But anyway, so the eclipses are always connected to these nodes. The nodes just change signs into Aries and Libra. It's always opposing signs. So
they just did this.
Yeah, I've been talking about it a lot over the summer.
Right.
Like, and that's why they say there's all these breakups happening and changes in relationships and what we need from relationships because Aries and Libra is such a I mean, it's crazy how many there have been.
You warned Heather, if we go back a few episodes, you literally say this. You say there's gonna be a lot of breakups, and they're just, in my personal life, there's been so many breakups around me. And it's so funny because I watched the funniest TikTok where this girl is like talking to her boyfriend and she's like, everybody's breaking up right now, but not us. And like grabs him by like the collar and he's like eating and just like, yes, ma'am. And it's so funny because I did the same thing to my boyfriend. I said, everybody's breaking up, not us. And we're not fucking going anywhere. I'll have other breakups in other areas, which that's happened. But like, yeah, it is just you. If we, I'm going to find it. I'm going to find the episode where you start saying this, but you said this, and then we're seeing it in real time. We're seeing it publicly as well. Oh my God. The
I
public
know,
breakup.
especially the public.
Messy, some messiness.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the Bravo universe. Oh my God, it's insane. But
the fucking, well, yeah, I'm so sorry. Is Vanderpump Rules a part of Bravo?
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah.
Like that messy breakups.
Messy.
Like,
yeah.
Big,
but
like, yes, big, like, oh, well, that had to end.
yeah. But I've been learning so much because, again, like I usually don't focus this hard on the transits. And like this is the first year that I understand the nodes and that the nodes change signs every 18 months. And that's like a major shift. And I remember earlier this year, like Jordy was telling me, oh, it's a big year for like Aries, Libra, like cardinal placements, right. Cancer and Capricorn. And I'm like, really, at the time I didn't understand, but now I get it because
right.
the nodes are like more karmic. It's more like, bigger change. Yeah, it's not just like, oh, Venus is transiting over my sun, I'm gonna feel good today. It's like the big stuff. So right. So with, yeah, like, so that
with, I'm so sorry, Heather, like with, you mean like bigger stuff within, everyone can see their node in their birth chart, correct?
Although it is kind of tricky because the north node you can see in your chart. The south node, they don't usually show. So I don't totally get it. I think maybe it's like on Astro Dance, the website I use, there's a function where you can click a button and it'll show the south node. But by default, they don't usually do that. I think because they're worried about confusing people and the south node isn't like the most important. Basically,
gotcha.
We all have our north node in our chart in a certain sign, and that's supposed to represent like what on a soul level we have to move toward in this lifetime to evolve on a grand like soul level, not just, ego, but like our actual, souls. And it gets kind of hokey. But then I'm
writing this down.
Yeah, no, but it is interesting. My mom's obsessed with the nodes. But then the south
really
node,
I don't know mine. I really need to know it.
And I think we have it the same for people like our age. Like I think we both have it in Scorpio.
That was going to be my next question. Is it a generational, like, do we see nodes?
I'm going to check right now. I think it is because it changes every 18 months. So I think that if you're born like the same year, it's generally in the same place. I think for us, it's in the north nodes in Scorpio. But see, I get confused. Sometimes I'm like, is it in Taurus, the opposite sign? But no, north node's in Scorpio for us. So then south node is in Taurus. And north node is supposed to be like future, what you have to work toward, but it's a little bit more challenging. And then south node is in the opposite sign. And that's like what you've dealt with, what you've already mastered. And so the south node is more a place of comfort for you, but the north node is what you're supposed to be moving toward in order to grow and evolve.
The overall big life.
So for us,
it's so funny how people discuss too. That's so... Real quick, Heather, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no.
Because like, people you talk about this, the older you get, I feel like maybe people completely disagree with this, but I feel like the older you get, the more you look back and you're like, it's the same shit. Like the same shit I've been dealing with continues to sometimes be the same shit. Or it's like, and this is talked about in therapy a lot and spirituality of like, because like when you're a kid, you figure out one tool to fix a problem. And then as you get older, it's like you continue to use that same tool for every problem. And as problems arise, we realize, oh, this problem needs a different tool, right? That's like that was like an example. That's kind of as I understand it in like therapeutic sense. Astrologically, it's like so fascinating. It's like, it's been there. It's been in front of you. You like knowing your chart. I'm not taking anything away from therapy, of course, please. I love it. need it, breathe it. Heather's my like sub therapy a lot of the time. An extra meeting I didn't pay for. But like astrologically in the birth chart, you see those themes too. And I would love to, every time I look more into my birth chart, I'm like, yep, that makes sense in my human understanding and in my human experience of like dealing with that. And I just find it interesting. Like, is it child trauma, or was it always in your chart you were going to deal with that? It's just a fun way to like compare it. And then when we're talking about people too, Heather, and you're looking at charts, I've learned where you're like, there's going to be like, we've talked about this before. It's not saying that your chart is like going to doom you or destined to. You're allowed to look at your chart and learn from it is the whole point. Just like anything. Your chart isn't just like, okay, it's written in the stars, that's it. No, it's all about like, it's fascinating. And even when we're covering people, you're like, it's interesting to hear that they had that really rough childhood, for example, or they maybe had these things in life that were really hard for them to go through, because in their chart, it makes sense that that's an issue for them, or XYZ, So one more time, I'm so sorry. Every person has a north and a south node. The north is kind of like, we can look at it as the North Star, what you're going towards, right?
Exactly.
What your overall themes. The south is sort of what you've overcome. And then you said that for our year specifically, because we're born the same year, we have Scorpio and it changes every 18 months. Now, remind me again, we have Scorpio and something else, like our generation.
Pluto. Yeah. And the North Node is like right on Pluto in my chart. It's the same fucking degree. So I think that says a lot about our generation being like rebuilders, but also like embracing darkness and being the one who can look at the darkness in order to bring healing and totally rise from the ashes and renew. I mean, that is so our generation.
That's a huge generational theme for us, Heather. As you said that, that's something that like, so sorry not to get on a tangent again, but like, I totally, things change, life changes. I'm not going to get into a history lesson. I couldn't if I tried, but like, I understand older generations and where they're coming from. The things and the lives they were experiencing are very different from mine. Technology in itself, it's like we're in a completely new world. And if you were born during a time where you saw technology really born, you're almost like from two different planets. Like I do get it. I think for our generation, though, a huge reason to be, I'll put it in like, if I'm talking about political things for a moment, not even political, just like our country, for example, I feel like I'm constantly having this conversation with an older generation where it's like, if you hate it so bad and you think it's so bad, why don't you move? And it's like, why can't we recognize and see what needs to be fixed and not work on that? Like, I think our generation is, and again, it's been shoved in our face. We grew up with the internet. Like, we didn't grow up. This is one little example I'm making, but I do feel like this is an overall, and I feel like generation has this fight, right, with the older generation, but it's been really funny to watch. Our generation has no issues, again, just an example, talking shit about this country, talking shit about America, being not cool with it, not liking a lot of things she's doing, and still wanting to stay here and change it. Like, to me, it's like, well, we can't leave. There's so much our generation wants to work to fix. Duh. Like, it's okay to, I love my country. That's exactly why we should be critical of it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, that's always how I've looked at it. And you can, it's a convoluted thing as a Scorpio, or it's like, it's just simply not all black and white. And that's always how I felt. And that's the conversation I try to, like, slowly but surely, I feel like my parents understand where I'm coming from now. And I'm like, it's a lot easier for my generation to shit on our own country. We just have facts in front of us that we can't ignore. And we weren't raised by just textbooks that were written by just our country, right? Like, it's a beautiful thing, I think, to love your country and also be like, that's fucked up about it though. And we got to work on that, like,
totally.
Anyways, wanted 100%. To point that out. And I feel like our generation, again, I know we're from a different time. Again, we have internet in a way that there's just certain things we can't ignore if we wanted to. Not putting blame on a past generation. The world has obviously changed a lot, but that's so fucking Scorpio to be like, there is darkness in the world. and to still want to be here to make it bright. Like, I don't know. To me, that's beautiful.
Yes.
To not run away from it like a Pisces would, but to be like, no, we got to stand and fight. We gotta bring more light. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love that about our generation. I really do.
Yeah, I know. I do too. I agree. And
sorry, that was such a long tangent.
No, but you put that really well, and it's all very true, and it is like a staple of our generation. And yeah, the North Node, you would have to look up Pluto. Like, we are the Pluto and Scorpio generation. It takes 10 to 20 years for it to shift signs. So I think if you're in our age range of that millennial sector, then you probably have Pluto and Scorpio, and you can relate to this. But the North Node, you might want to look at your chart. But also, what I was going to say is that it's one thing to understand that, like, we have our North Node in Scorpio and the South Node in Taurus, and that colors our soul agenda during this lifetime, I guess you could say. But knowing what house it falls in, I think, is a bigger way to get into like the nuances and the intricacies of it, because because it, like, so everyone our age could have it in Scorpio, but not everyone our age is going to have it in the 4th house like me, or in whatever house it falls in. For you, I think it would be the 7th house, or so that is going to like color it more, make it more specific to you. And
that was my next question. You literally answered it. Does everyone have it in the same house?
Right. No, it would be different for sure, depending on your rising sign. So, and I don't know if they have that on CoStar. So try and figure out where your North Node is. You can message me. You can go on astro.com or astrodance.com.
You can message. You can message at Hollywood Horoscopes on Instagram as well. But yeah, or just find Heather. I was like, I don't want to put your whole information out there, but you can find Heather through. We're both tagged in the bio. But yeah, if y'all ever have any questions, oh my God, don't be shy.
And it's super relevant right now because the nodes transit wise, like, and currently just change signs, like I said, and the eclipses are always with the nodes. So that's why eclipses are said to like catapult you in a new direction that maybe your ego doesn't want, but your soul requires.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So this Libra eclipse,
research to do after this
on Saturday, falls on the Libra.
Wow, it's so Libra
the node
charged.
that just moved into Libra. Wow. So there's like if you have to, and especially if you have like a strong Libra presence in your chart, it's going to affect you more. If not, it might just be like an emotional day that isn't like that profound.
Energies are going to be tense.
Yeah,
but maybe a little high.
So what a Libra finale. Themes, but also like, what is your new course? And also I learned that because this is a solar eclipse and it's on the South Node, this one, it's a releasing eclipse, whereas the next one is on the North Node, which is more future oriented. What are you going to gain? So South Node, because it relates to the past, is like more releasing, and that's what this eclipse is on Saturday. But then the next one at the end of October in Taurus with the North Node is more like, what are you going to gain? What is the next step? What direction are you moving toward future wise? Does that all make sense?
Yes. I mean, of course, I will have to ask the listeners, but unfortunately they can't respond right now. Yeah. But like, this gets me going. I'm like, even if me and Heather are the only people having fun from this podcast, like, this shit is enough to just like, I know chills every time we do this.
Like talking about it with people who are also excited about it. It's just like fun.
It gives me chilly willies. And we've been talking about this, like, we've got a big season finale coming up, and the fact that Libra is like having her own, and then we're gonna move into this like feels like there's a big ignition before this very big watery time. And for our generation specifically, just Scorpio, is always a higher, it feels like just like a more intense time, and it makes sense with our Pluto in Scorpio. Sorry, you were gonna say something?
Oh, and I was just gonna add, because I know, like, we both like to look at things metaphorically, you know, symbolically with what's going on in the weather, like, you know, very specifically. So I also learned that a solar eclipse is when I want to make sure I'm saying it right, when the moon is
Moves in
blocking
the
the
sun.
moon comes between the sun and the earth, blocking some of the sun's light. So we're dealing with shadowy stuff, like what is lurking in the shadows of your emotions or your psyche that is just beyond reach, that is like not in consciousness yet. Like that is sort of like the symbolic quality of the solar eclipse, is that maybe there's like shadowy psychological stuff from the past that's not totally observable yet, but the eclipse is meant to like bring that to light.
Wait, and then what's lunar? Fuck. Sorry, Heather. Like solar is when the moon gets in front of the sun. I did know that one, I knew, and it's so embarrassing that none of this is from science. It's from fucking Twilight. But like a solar eclipse,
I love that.
yes, it's like the sun ring is almost like on the outside of the moon when the moon hits it like dead center. But a lunar eclipse, fuck, I can't
During a
remember
lunar
now.
eclipse, Earth's shadow.
Alex will tell us. Sorry, go ahead.
Lunar eclipse, Earth's shadow obscures the moon. During
That's
a solar eclipse, the moon blocks the sun. So
whatever. My point is she should have picked Jacob. I'm just kidding.
Should not have.
No, Bella really shouldn't have.
No.
But yeah, anyways, it's an energetically charged ass time. They're talking about Taylor Swift might drop some shit during these eclipses.
Right.
Apparently, okay, this is actually okay to connect, actually bringing her up for this purpose. Again, these are the Swiftie. This is from the Swiftie database. Okay, so I did not do research. I just kind of listen. Alex is literally rolling her eyes right now. I constantly send her things where I'm like, a conspiracy, and she's like, you just really don't check your facts. And I said, that's why it's a conspiracy. It's fun. Live a little, Libra. But someone was talking about when they did all these like surprises that Taylor's been dropping. People did a track record, and it's been during huge moon stuff.
Right. I think I even saw something about this.
And she even like in the Lavender Haze music video, right? Like she's got the koi fish, and at the time, you know, her boyfriend Joe was a Pisces, and it felt really like she's just been bringing more astrology in a little bit. She's always been, though, like on Red even. She's got this
two fire signs.
I think she says twin fire signs. And I remember being like, what the fuck does that mean? Like way, like this was when I was very early. I remember being like, twin fire signs. Oh, that's cute. She cares about that. Way before I met Heather, folks. I'll tell you what. So she's always been kind of like, I think, a spiritual girly a little bit. And like, been paying attention to the movement a little bit. But all of a sudden I was like, someone too was just like, Taylor Swift is in flow. She is she's an energy magnet right now. Just like she is like in her high vibration. We are witnessing someone in the vibration they're supposed to be in. It does feel like a ton of like themes have come up for her and like this year specifically. And I've been connecting a lot of it to astrology. It's fun to think that she is too. Anyways, I of course had to bring her up, folks. And I think there might be a surprise, something from her during the eclipse. But my point is, paying attention to this shit it's just opened my reality up. It's just, there's so like my world feels like it has so many more dimensions in a positive way.
Yeah.
Like it just, there's so much more.
So much more special.
Yeah, and as a Pisces, you know, I'm constantly feeling shit, and it's like an intuitiveness thing of like now being like, what the fuck's going on in the sky? And like, and I'm, you know, I don't know. It just it'll never be enough. There's never enough layers to dig through. But I love the nodes, Heather. And it's so fun to hear that that's something that's new for you. Knowing how long Heather has been studying astrology, how that's now something you're even more paying attention to. Like anything that you're like, I'm paying attention to this now, I'm like, okay, then I am too. Thank you. Because it's really fascinating to see that this is sort of new territory for you as well.
Yeah, I've had such a moment. You know, astrology is like never ending. It's like, I think trying to understand astrology is like trying to understand a new language that you've never tried to speak before, but it's maybe even more complicated and complex than that. So I'm very much of the like understanding that I'm not going to know everything, even probably when I die, but like I'm just like constantly a student of astrology. But like yeah, I feel like this year I've had such a moment where I've like, they say that like you start by learning the signs and the energetic qualities of the signs. Then you can learn like the planets. Then you learn the houses. Then you learn the aspects in the chart, like the lines connecting the planets. And then you know how to read a chart. And then the next thing is like transits, but it all helps you to understand like everything else in a more nuanced way the more you step up and learn new things. And this is the year that I've been really focused on transits. And I used to be someone who was like, I don't want to be one of these crazy people who's like obsessed with my horoscope every day, or who like doesn't want to like start that conversation until Mercury is in good aspect with Venus or whatever. And like throughout this year, throughout studying the transits more, I feel like I've kind of become that person. And I'm kind of like catching myself being like, well, maybe I shouldn't like text that person today. Maybe I should wait till like Venus is in good connection with Mercury or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, Heather. And then I'm also like having this whole thing where like I've been obsessed with Molly McCord, but then some of it I'm like understanding like some astrology out there is kind of clickbaity. Like there's stuff on YouTube that's like huge major life changes for Libras this month. And it's like, I feel like using that title is just to like get the attention. Am I making sense? But anyway, all that goes to say that I don't regret going deep into the rabbit hole, because I feel like I'm learning so much astrology. Like I don't know, like maybe that's becoming obsessed with the minutia of it is maybe like a step toward just understanding the planets and the energies a little bit better.
Right. No, yeah.
God,
absolutely.
I feel like
no. You're like, as someone who's constantly rambling, I'm like, Heather, you did great. And that not to say that you're rambling at all. I just more mean like I think you were afraid you weren't making sense. And I'm like, no, it's just, but it's like what you said. It's very convoluted. And if you're listening to this and you're like, what the fuck are they talking about? Write that in, actually, because we'd love to maybe slow it down. But no, I think that's just it. Everyone starts with like, I'm a Pisces, I'm an Aquarius, I'm this sign. And then, but then it's like, you have no idea what that really means until like you look into it.
Yeah.
Language too. I think it's like, there's certain things from astrology. It's like anything, like the Western, like America, for example, or just the Western hemisphere, like got all into yoga, right? Like yoga became really big here and it's gained so much in popularity. What I think so many people, this is just an example I'm giving, what so many people don't realize about yoga is that the whole exercise is for your mental health too. It's one part of a bigger fucking thing, which is like yoga is an incredible practice for, yes, exercise, and just good for the overall body, but a huge point and part to yoga is for your brain, the breathing techniques that you're doing through it. For the longest time, I did yoga not understanding that the breath work aspect of it as well. There's the whole point to it. It's meant for breath work as well as physical, and it's just truly meant for your mental as much as it is for physical. Astrology's kind of become that too, where I think there's like only half of it is what's really caught on in popularity, right? And we're forgetting this whole other intuitive underbelly, and that'll just take obviously time, I think. And the more it's like gaining popularity in our Western culture, right? But yeah, it to me, it kind of reminds me of yoga. It's very similar, where it's like, we're taking this main part because that's what's like catching everyone's attention. But like, when you really look into it, exactly, Heather, it's like a language. It's a study. Like, it could literally, I think there are college classes for it now, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I was out with a group of friends. I might have already said this on the podcast before. And one of my friends had someone in town, and he happens to be a college professor. And it was so funny because I didn't find any of that out until like after a half hour of talking to him. And of course, astrology got brought up somehow, me, and we were talking about it. And then I remember being like, oh my God, I just talked for like 30 minutes about astrology with this college professor. He's probably just rolling his eyes thinking I'm so dumb. And he teaches sociology. And I was like, and I even said, I was like, oh my God, you're a college, I was like, you're a professor. I was like, am I just like sounding so silly? And he was like, no, I have a whole, well, it's funny that you bring up astrology because in my sociology class, I have an entire like, they basically take time out of the fucking semester to study astrology, to talk about astrology. And that's huge. I really love that. And again, it's like that girl on TikTok who was like, people ask me all the time, you're a fucking scientist. How can you actually believe in astrology? And she's like, exactly. I'm a scientist. What is astrology if not? And she put it in a beautiful way where she was like, I'm not saying because you're a Virgo, you're this. I'm just saying it's really interesting when we research and study the patterns to this shit. And that's just it. It's how old is the fucking sky? Older than us. So this shit is so convoluted. It's so much older than us. And just like anything, astrology, it's not like it has an end. It's not like a subject where it's like it's mastered and here's where you finally get to the end of it. As time expands, so does astrology with it. So it's never something that you'll conquer in a beautiful way. It's never something that like has an end. And that's also what I find so cool about it as a subject is that
you're right.
It's so old, and it will just, as time expands, so does it.
Yeah, like people are even saying like that, it's crazy. Like there's 9 planets and 12 signs. So some planets have double rulership, like Venus rules Taurus and Libra. And then at one point, Saturn ruled Aquarius and Capricorn, but then Uranus was discovered, and now that is the ruler of Aquarius. And like some people, and Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini, and Chiron is an asteroid that was recently discovered, and some people are like, maybe Chiron will be Virgo's new planet. It's like actually is crazy that the more even we understand what's happening in the sky, because we don't know everything, like there's new astrological
findings,
developments. Yeah, exactly. It really is. It's crazy. It's like in that way it really is science. We're like experimenting as we go, and it's a never ending. Yeah, I'm just echoing what you said.
And it's also and again, this is absolutely probably because of many factors, but being a Pisces for sure, where like I'm constantly being reminded. Again, for example, it's always me watching a TikTok. I hate it. I was reading an article with my newspaper in the morning, and it wasn't the comic section either, Buster. But like someone was talking about a black hole and like what happens when you go in it as far as we can like understand, and like what is happening. It was just I don't know why this shit happens to me. I do. I'm on it. I'm on that app way too much and way too long. But a black hole as we understand it defies the laws of physics as we know them so far in our universe. This is something I'm constantly reminded of, where it's like, up until this point in time, we thought just this was how it happened, until one day new information was exposed and we realized we don't know shit about shit.
Yeah.
I'm constantly saying that. Obviously, we know things as far as we can, but even the things we know are limitations within our human existence and our own reality. And the fact that even in space, we understand that the laws of physics as we know them are not applied there. It was just a really amazing reminder that there's only so much we can know in this very limited form, but the energy doesn't die. I'm getting too spiritual. I'm getting too into it I just to me, I'm always constantly like and then there's just a beautiful part of the unknowing, or at least a beautiful reminder for me to be reminded constantly that we do not know shit about shit. We know a lot, that's still in relation to everything. It's still really not shit about shit. And that's kind of beautiful. Like truly, it's beautiful. It really is. And
that we're part of something like so grand that's so beyond us,
much convoluted and bigger than we could, I think, ever know. And that's just it. Maybe you never do, right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful life we live in. I do. And I love it. Not even that, like, I don't know. I'm a Pisces. So part of me is like, why do you need meaning? But of course, that's me deflecting. Because I think a lot of my entire existence is like, what is it all? Like, I'm constantly looking for a bigger purpose, a bigger meaning. And when something doesn't have that, that's the quickest way I'll fall off of something. Right. So I don't know, even without a bigger meaning or us knowing it, it's a beautiful thing to be reminded of. It just, that shit gets my Pisces gears going.
I know.
This Libra energy, this Libra time, it's good.
It is good. It is good. Yeah,
Good
very
time.
intellectual, looking at the balance of things.
Yeah.
And Scorpio is very spiritual and always looking for meaning. So
yeah, I was gonna
really
say, and that in our generation with our Pluto in Scorpio, the North Node, honestly, as we figured out, Heather, I really am excited to look into that.
Yeah. I really think your North Node is probably in the 7th house of one-to-one relationships. Or no, sorry. Because Taurus is your rising, so Taurus would be the 1st house, and then Scorpio is the North Node, which is opposite Taurus, which would be the 7th, which is one-to-one relationships.
Oh my God. And one of my favorite things I always say to Heather is like, don't get me wrong, I love a good time. I love an event. I love an experience, but
there's nothing better than
nothing better than like sitting and shooting the shit with another human and just like having a meaningful talk. That's just so funny that you say that too, Heather. That shit also is like, the really close relationship I have with my Virgo father as a Pisces, not to make it too personal, but it's like that was just my core memories of like my connection with my dad. And when it felt like this is life, weirdly, is like the philosophy and just sitting there and talking about how fucked up it is, or just like what the fuck is, like sitting with another human being like, what the fuck are we doing? Sometimes it's such a nothing makes me feel more alive, weirdly, than like another being with another human being like, what the fuck is this? What is this? What are we doing? Like, honestly, let's ask ourselves.
No, I'm with you. That is
So that makes
favorite
sense.
thing.
I'm like, that's euphoria for me.
Yeah.
I do not need to go skydiving. I'm like a one-on-one time with a human being talking about what the fuck this shit is. Oh, baby. No, it's a gorgeous time. Gorgeous time. Lovely, lovely Libra time.
Yes.
And with that, Heather, shall we move on to these Libra charts?
Let's.
These Libra lads we have today. Some lucky Libras. Luscious Libras we have today, huh, Heather?
Yeah.
And last time I think we did 2 Libras who were musicians, and now we're doing 2 Libras who are, well, we'll go on. I'm like, yeah, we'll get there.
Libras who like to get into shit with the people around them. No. I really
was gonna say 2 actors, but
the first one. Yeah,
you're not wrong. No, that's so funny. Shall we, Heather? Shall we dive on in?
Yeah. So the Libra will be covering is Will Smith.
The one and only.
Truly the one and only. God damn it, Will Smith. I think we all grew up loving him and loving the
his clean rap,
Bel-Air, and his his fun personality. And I love The Pursuit of Happiness. My mom always tells me that I'm going to be successful in life because I have the same signs as the character Will Smith plays in The Pursuit of Happiness. Have I told you this already? She's
no.
Like, you're an Aquarius Taurus moon, just like the person, The Pursuit of Happiness, like the true story
right.
of Happiness person. So like you're
is
always
about
going to be fine and you have drive and stuff. And I'm like, thanks, Mom.
That's so true. And you do. And you will. But that's really funny. I did not know that.
But I love that movie.
Yeah.
That character does seem like an Aquarius Taurus moon. Will Smith does seem like a Libra. With those Aries undertones of anger coming up suddenly, but also, okay, Will Smith, before I get too ahead of myself, is a Libra sun, Scorpio moon, Gemini rising, Scorpio moon, needing to be in Scientology with those dark secrets and the power complexes, and I don't know.
I forgot he's in Scientology.
I know, that's really what turned me, is when I learned that whole family. And then I was doing live audience for The Real, that TV show, when Jada was on it, and I was like, this all rubs me the wrong way. She rubs me the wrong way. The Scientology of it all rubs me the wrong way. And then the slap happened, and I was like, all right, I don't like you. But I guess I shouldn't be so biased. That's not very Libra, or is it? But
go on.
Yeah, but Saturn in Aries. So Will Smith's problem planet is in Aries. I just think that there's like some mysterious, weird, seedy shit going on with him. I don't think I'm alone in feeling that way. But the chart itself, it's interesting in that it's like very in the personal houses. It's all in the bottom sphere. So I think that part of like what he's dealing with psychologically in this lifetime is themes of like understanding yourself on a personal level, understanding your personal power, stuff like that. The Scorpio moon is telling. So yeah.
I'm sorry.
Over. No,
I got ahead of myself. No. It's always so funny. And I know that we obviously cover this whole podcast is built to cover celebrities, right? The theme here, but it is always so funny, the celebrities that we cover, that yes, when we talk about their underlying themes, it's never their career success is never the issue. Whereas like, I feel like it's either one or the other, right? You either the career thing, you got figured out and you get it. A lot of times you get it figured out nice and early, like Will Smith did. He's been around forever. He's pretty young when he got his start, and became a household fucking name. That he was young, like we forget. And has been around for forever. And then, started getting into these bigger roles and started gaining more like respect. Got a whole fucking Oscar, but can't ever go back because his personal shit it's such a convoluted thing, right? Like even the slap was such a convoluted thing. I also kind of don't fuck with Jada. There's always been a little something, yes, with her that's rubbed me the wrong way. And I also was just kind of like, come on, you have a whole talk show that airs out your family laundry. Like, and yet people aren't allowed to joke about I know it's a bigger convoluted thing. I'm not trying to make it so surface level, but I remember just always like what is her show? I forget. I just remember being like, this is so fucking cringe to me. It never felt authentic. And its whole thing is supposed to be authentic and just like,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
We're keeping it real.
But
and
something
I'm like,
about it feels so superficial and Scientology-like and like fucking weird.
Yes.
Weird. I don't know.
It's always kind of like, it's always, and that's how I found out she cheated on Will Smith. And that became like public knowledge because.
Which is weird also. Why are we finding out on her? I don't know.
Well, and it was also, I think, shocking for the world to be like, Will Smith got cheated on. Right. And not only that, but stayed with her. And I'm not my relationship, not my business between her and Will. Absolutely. But I do think that was the first time for me, but this was like well before the slap and all that happened. And well before he got the role for, forget the name of Serena and Venus's dad now. Anyway, but just like before he got the role for that movie, which is what got him the fucking Oscar after he assaulted that also, like, a lot of my beef with that is at the Oscars, and it's like it is at Will, but like when everyone was so like Jada did that, Jada made him, I'm like, we're talking about a grown-ass man. We're talking about a grown-ass man. I hated the backlash that Jada, and I'm saying this from a place of I haven't really fucked with her either, and I don't really love that show, or what I do know obviously about her from a very public very removed perspective. I was still like, I hated when people were still blaming that on Jada, because that's just so blatantly sexist. This is a grown fucking ass man at his own award show and like up and nominated for an award. Like every action he took was his. And I'm an emotional person. I've been emotionally reactive before, yada, yada, yada. But before that, the Jada and Will stuff and them just airing their dirty laundry like that felt so weird. Or I was just like, I don't want to listen. I shouldn't be able to hear this. Like, it just felt not my business. And I think that was also it made me like, Will Smith got cheated on and then is publicly talking about it with his wife and they're still together. That was huge for me, and just the understanding of Will Smith. I was more just shocked because I'm like, you're Will Smith. You could just easily like move on, get a new, you're Will fucking Smith.
Right.
But I think, as you pointed out in his chart, Heather, that's where a lot of his hangups are, and understanding his chart more. And people are like, why wouldn't he leave Jada? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's in the chart, honey. It's all the answers are always in the chart. And yeah, it feels like Will's challenges will never be his career as much as it will be his personal relationships. Life. And which is just funny that we cover a lot of celebrities where that does happen. And it's always such a funny switch up of things. It's like so many people, chase the career part. But then it's like the people who find career really early and successfully, it's always just like 9 times out of 10, they cannot find that same it's the personal, normal, mundane human shit that they cannot. And then that the Libra way. Isn't that the Libra balance of it all, though, Heather? Like,
it is
interesting.
It is interesting.
Go on, sorry.
And also, I want to be careful when I generalize.
Yes.
But I think it's worth pointing out. So yeah, there's like the mysterious, dark Scorpio stuff that's very a side to Scorpio. Then
like, why didn't we know they were in Scientology for so much longer? Sorry, but like I can't believe I didn't know that about Will Smith so much sooner.
Right?
It feels like we should have known about that.
I know, and I think celebrities like to keep it on the down low until it like benefits them to. I don't think they're very vocal about it, but they are, involved in Scientology, and which is a cult. Very Scorpio, but then there's also a plethora of Virgo planets. So the sun is right on the edge of Libra and Virgo, right at the start of Libra. And then there's Uranus, Pluto, Jupiter, and Mars all in Virgo there. Right. And you don't know Keith Raniere or Nexium or the sex cults in Albany, right? It's my friends and I became obsessed with this documentary series because it literally happened in Christian Miola's hometown. And I highly recommend watching it
would love, on
HBO, because Allison Mack, who's an actress in Smallville, Alex Nightingale and I talk about this all the time, because Allison Mack was like the ringleader, like the woman who was like manipulated, but also like branding people's vaginas and like leading this huge sex cult, but like because she was manipulated by Keith Raniere. But Keith Raniere, I almost covered him during Virgo season. He is a Virgo sun, Libra moon, Scorpio rising, all 3 of the same energies that Will Smith has. And there's something that intuitively like rubs me the wrong way about Will, where I'm like, you have that Libra charm, but I'm not buying. I don't know. There's something that's just setting off alarm bells in me.
Well, he's got like, again, in that Libra way, Will Smith feels very like he's a fresher breath air. He's the fresh prince of breath air. Sorry. But it's like, his presence, his whole thing, his facade is very light, very like, I'm here to have a good time. Like, let's all have a good time. But then over the years, a lot of his dark and heaviness comes from his literal family, from his chosen family right now. And like his personal relationships and shit. It's like, and that's just like, which, like, again, when you're a celebrity, I think a lot of celebrities try to keep their personal life. But that's what I'm saying. They're not trying to keep their personal life personal, and all power to them to make money off of sharing it. But in a similar vein of like the Kardashians, where it's like, we're the producers of what we get to now share with you. There's like the authenticity isn't. So many people bitch about this with the new Kardashian show, because before they were able to be producers on it, a lot of the things that, it just didn't matter what they wanted, or if they regretted a scene and didn't want to air it anymore, they weren't the producers. Now they're in control. And so it still just feels like, well, we're not really seeing anything because y'all are in control, and everyone, it's like social media. When you're in control of it, what you present is very, what am I trying to say? There's just, so again, any show that's like, we're here to really spill the beans, it's like, yeah, you're also a producer. You're also making money from this. You're also like in control of it. So like, what really is real. I don't know. It's in a similar vein to me.
Totally. I 100% agree. And
it's sneaky.
Yeah, it's all it's sneaky, but it's
but under the guise of like we're sharing. Right.
Right. Right. No, but it's interesting to observe, and it's definitely interesting to observe it in the chart too, because the more I look at it, it's wild. The fourth house is the house of family, and that's where he has a lot of his, like, Mars, the fighting planet, but also Pluto, and like a lot of planets there that is like a struggle and a focus. Neptune conjunct Moon has to like sacrifice something of the emotions and relating to like how he grew up and stuff, and that's in Scorpio, which is very heavy and intense. And then opposite, the Saturn in the 11th is like the only public house placement, and it's like the challenging planet. But yeah, but then there's this like airy quality to the chart too, with Gemini rising and Libra sun, that's very like able to just be like, I'm Will Smith.
Gemini, able to adapt a little bit better.
That too.
And again, they get the rep for being two-faced, but it's like, I don't look at it that way. I just think Gemini really knows how to, they're chameleons, and it's
about the immediate environment. Yeah, they're very like they influenced by where they are. Yeah,
right. And we're just really, he's very fascinating to me. But that was when I kind of started looking at Will Smith as like, maybe we don't know this guy, was when he was on the fucking red table talking about being cheated on with Jada, which, like, again, could be very powerful if it didn't feel so fucking fake. I'm just gonna call it what it is. And anyone who's making money off of sharing their story, you gotta know. People just have to remember that when you're watching things. I don't know, but anyways, anything else, Heather, that worth pointing out as I know we're about to compare Will to our next Libra a little bit, but
I think that does it. I'm ready to
see how this compares and contrasts. Yes. All right. With our next Libra on the docket, you might know more about this Libra than I do, Heather, especially when you brought up like scandal, or they attract like.
Go ahead.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But this next Libra, none other than the one and only Dakota Johnson, which is so funny because I think I saw 50 Shades of Grey in theaters in college and then never watched them again, but being like, because I had read all those 50 Shades books, and then I've been back into a reading smut again. Saturn return.
Yeah, I just started yesterday.
Back to my roots.
Libra.
And Libra.
Libra on the precipice of Scorpio.
Smutty, spicy novels, please. But I was on HBO. I was on Max, and 50 Shades was like promoted to me, or what am I trying to say? Marketed to me. And I was kind of like, you know what? I haven't actually watched this in forever. It's so bad.
I know.
But Dakota's great. Or no, like I'm a fan of Dakota.
Me too. I am too.
What a fucking role, especially as like your big breakthrough main character role. Not that she hadn't done shit previously, but when I honestly became a fan of Dakota is when they were talking to her about 50 Shades, and they're like, how can you just, like do that? Like be nude on camera. And I think her response was straight up, I'm obviously paraphrasing, but was straight up like, the fucking money. Like, she made so much fucking money just to be in that film, because I think the amount of nudity and the amount of money they just expected it to make at the box office, she got her bag. And it was very important. Like, to me, that's like, okay, well, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So she's a Libra sun, Sag moon to show a little titty. Come on, please. And then a Capricorn rising. And I feel like Dakota was like, yeah, this is a very vulnerable role. I'm going to be, she's naked. Like, she is naked in 50 Shades of Grey. Except you just obviously don't see all the detailed little bits, but like essentially she's naked and looks so fucking good doing it. If I look like her, I'd be naked and everything. But my point is like, I just remember really I think basically from the beginning, she was like, yeah, this isn't a good movie. This isn't even good. It was a Twilight fan fiction film. I'm about to be so fucking rich. Like, I like really respected that. Part of me was just like, yeah, why not? Get your fucking bag. And like, that's honestly when I became a fan. And it's so funny because people love her. And she's a Nepo baby. I forget who her mom is. Hold on. Damn it. I had this ready to go too.
Yeah,
But
she's so there's also an interview that she has with someone. Is it
Melanie
Ellen or
Griffith.
with
Sorry.
Oh.
Her mom is Melanie Griffith.
Oh.
She's a Nepo baby. But
right.
anyway,
She's
go.
so
What were you?
real.
Right.
She is
She'll be
opposite
like the
Will
first to be
Smith.
like, I'm a Nepo baby.
Yeah, she's
She
opposite
still
Will
wants to
Smith to
hang.
me, and that she seems like very. I've seen her like give attitude to interviewers, and there's something I'm thinking of specifically, but in a way where
Ellen.
I'm
She
like,
went on
yeah,
Ellen.
bitch, right,
She
right.
went
And,
on
and
Ellen.
and she was
And
like,
Ellen
you
did
didn't
her
invite me to
weird.
the party,
And she was
and
like,
she was
bitch.
like, I fucking did.
She was like, Ellen, I did invite you. Are you seriously gonna bring this up on your show? I'm like a real one. Like that's what's like Dakota again, Libra balance, right? I think she's so
Moon is so
beloved.
real.
Sag Moon is so real for that. But also, like, I think, she's got self-awareness. And like
Yes.
that's I think
Air
like
sign.
and I knew that when air sign, yes. And then, but it's like she knows she's a Nepo baby and she'll be the first one to like admit that. And that's why I loved where she was like, yeah, 50 Shades was going to make me a ton of money. So it was like a no brainer to strip for it. And like, again, it was just like, she's down to earth and in a way that like she's a Nepo baby everyone likes. It's like her and Miley are like the big Nepo babies that are like, everyone's like, nah, that's okay. Well, we allow that,
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus and her,
Both
because we
have that
forget.
Sagittarius.
Right? I was gonna say, but like,
Yeah.
and she's so likable. And I think that's the thing with Dakota is that she, grew up in Hollywood, which is so not realistic. And yet it feels like she really fights to humble herself and stay down to earth. It's really fascinating. And that's why I think she's beloved. And everyone thinks that's just it. You feel like you could be friends with this girl and she's not from your world. But that's a hard thing to balance unless you're a Libra like Dakota.
Right.
But then also what I was going to say, Heather, looking at her chart, you said Will's was like bunched on the bottom, correct? Mm-hmm. Hers is a sharp top half chart, right?
Yeah.
Am I correct in saying that?
No, you are. And
she's got bunchies, a lot of like
and it makes sense that her mom was famous because like all the Kardashian charts are like this. I feel like when you're born into fame, it's like of course all your planets are in the public houses. Like you can't fucking help that shit. I don't know. But yeah, but very, very public chart. And Pluto in the 10th, which is like, showing your vulnerabilities and sexy side to the public, perhaps. But
again, if I looked like fucking Dakota Johnson, I'd be naked all the time. Like she's got nothing to not show off, please. But
yeah.
That's a really vulnerable. It's like one of the. I mean, not just. It's a sexy movie. The whole movie is like BDSM, low key, and like it's not just sex scenes. Like it's very impressive. I think she does a really good job. 50 Shades. She's the best part of the movie.
And I was going to say,
she's so funny. Sorry.
She's so funny. But the one thing that I think is very Libra and something I really like about her is that she's very vocal about the fact that she like didn't vibe with her co-star. What's his name? With the guy
they have no chemistry.
Yeah,
that's the funniest thing about the movie. They have no chemistry. She's so funny. He's like really serious, I think, in person too. I like watched them interview together and like she makes a joke and he's just like, you could tell he's just like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh my God, it's 50 Shades. Like this is not a good movie. Get it? Like I feel like she was just the whole time she was like like in a way that it was like deserved. And I think I forget his name, but I think that role was very serious for him. I don't know, but it's like, oh come on. I don't know.
Yeah.
They have no chemistry in the movie.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think it's very Libra to be like, I can be pleasant and get along for the sake of this situation, but like, God, I hate you.
No, but truly, like it like that reads, I don't know, you can really not feel that was just shit casting. She does great in the role and weirdly brings the funny moments in that movie are her and her line delivery. Like I want to be very clear that she made it very realistic. He is not good as that role. And that's not on him. I'm sure he's a fine actor. I really cannot remember his name. It does not matter. He simply can. She is Dakota Johnson. Did I say Fanning earlier? Don't let me say that.
I don't think you
Uh,
did.
I did.
No, I don't think so. I think
Oh, the
not that
listeners
I
will let us know.
remember. Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like great casting her. Not sure why they casted him because she just has chemistry in general. He just doesn't really have whatever. It's one movie, but like, yes, I think that's really, of course she'd talk about that. Of course she could be like, yeah, we didn't really vibe, but we made bank. I don't know. And yes, that Ellen interview. And then she talks about too, she was like her gap closed in her teeth. She's got that like a famous gap, right? And people thought she fixed it. People thought because her gap went away. And she's like on an interview, having an interview, and she even says like, or someone's like, people are really upset the gap is gone. I forget what interview she's doing. It's not Ellen though, God. And she's like, I'm really upset too. Like, I'm really upset too. She was like, I was having really horrific neck pain and my dentist figured out that it was a jaw alignment problem. And like, she basically needed to get braces and to align something. And that's like a real thing. There's like, I guess sometimes if things are messed up in your mouth, it can weirdly fuck up your muscles in your jaw and shoulders. So she was having horrific like jaw and shoulder issues and she had to get braces or whatever. And then that closed her gap because of the realignment she did. And she was like, I'm devastated. Like, I loved it. And like, that was just like another cool moment of like, people miss her gap. And she was like, I was never trying to fix my teeth. I don't give a fuck. I'm a Nepo baby. I just did 50 Shades of Grey with this gap. Like, clearly I'm not, I don't know. It was just, she's cool. And then I think in that same interview, she's like, I have to literally leave here and get on a flight to Canada for 6 a.m. And the guy's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, it's an interview. And they're taking shots. And she's just like, she's so effortlessly cool. Like, she's cool. And that's that Libra charm, I'm sure, mixed with that Sag moon.
Maybe the Cap rising a little bit.
And the Cap rising keeps her grounded
and
appearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love her. Sorry.
Love her
going back to her chart, Heather. Ooh, is this a trine I'm looking at? Are there multiple trines I'm looking at? Am I looking at a trine at all? Like this red triangle. Straight up.
Oh, the red triangle is like squares. If it's red lines, they're considered 90-degree angle squares. The trine is always the same element. So like a planet in Cancer going to a planet in Scorpio, they get along because they're in the same element. But the squares are usually different elements, 90-degree angles that are tension. So she has both. But yeah, a lot of squares. But yeah, Jupiter trine the midheaven is an amazing lucky planet of like, you're gonna have success with career.
Your mom's,
yeah, and the fact that it's in Cancer of the mom sign is funny. But yeah, I want to be Dakota Johnson.
She seems like we'd vibe.
We'd totally vibe.
And she strikes me as like a girl's girl.
Yeah,
but like, yeah, she's just cool.
Yeah,
she just is like, she just like exudes coolness. She's so cool. And it's so funny too, because like after 50 Shades came out and got really popular, and then it was like, people were like, don't forget she was in The Social Network. She's like the girl that Justin Timberlake like hooks up with, and she's a good fucking actress. She's really good at being natural. Like, you really don't feel like she's acting. Like, I want to like, maybe not in everything, but those like, she does. Sometimes I don't think people realize how hard it is to be funny. And for it to not feel forced and to not feel like a line and to actually make the moment feel authentic. And she's so fucking good in that. And she's also in 21 Jump Street. And like, both of those are like very small roles, but she's really good in them as like the small roles. And I just do wish her all the success. I don't know what she's done after 50 Shades, but I'm pretty sure she's like set for life. She's good. She's got it. Dakota, we love you. Will, we tolerate you.
Libra
but both
balance.
Of you, but that's the Libra balance, and both of you should still come on the pod.
Yeah.
Oh, Heather. And with that, our last Libra episode, shall we let the folks know what's coming up? I know we talked a little bit about it in our intro as well, but
Yeah,
Shall
I
we keep
mean,
the folks on their toes or
yes,
buckled into their
let's.
seats, whichever?
Both Libra balance. But yeah, the eclipse is obviously the big thing on the horizon.
As we discussed. Yep.
Yeah. So that is happening Saturday the 14th. It's also a new moon.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, get ready to rebalance, renegotiate, have relationship themes come up. You might have to let stuff go. It might be extra emotional and shadowy, but also exciting. We
Yeah.
we love eclipses. And then Mars just entered Scorpio. Actually, when this gets released on Thursday, Mars enters Scorpio, and yeah, so now we have one personal planet in water. Venus is also in Virgo now, so we have one personal planet in Earth, one in air. I'm missing the fire personally, but Scorpio at least brings passion, so I'm excited that
Yeah.
Mars is in
Before we shift
Scorpio.
in to Sag as well.
Right.
So
Yeah. So exciting
we've
times.
got fire on the horizon. Yeah,
We do.
Scorpio almost can count as a fire sign. The
I know, in a
shedding, the
way.
intensity. Yeah.
Yeah, the passion. Yeah.
In general. Yeah. No. What a gorgeous, beautiful time. A perfect little bow to wrap up Libra. Yeah. I can't believe we've lapped ourselves, Heather. So this is our first official like season where we have, 8 total we're in season
Right.
2 and we've done a full, because I know we lapped on Virgo technically, but when we started the podcast last September, we only had one Virgo episode in. So this is like our first real full cycle, it feels like. And yeah, how different Libra last year feels from Libra this year,
Yeah.
especially just with the moon being on different ends. Like, beautiful
Absolutely.
time. Beautiful time to be alive. Folks, look at your North Node, figure out your house, just bear with us. We got a big Libra finale, and then we're going to dive into Scorp. Exciting.
Yay. Love you.
Love you. Bye, listeners. Love
Bye.
you.